Yo, folks, check it out. It's your boy DGL7 today. It's actually the first very episode of our new Tuesday Thursday series with Christopher Leon Johnson. But actually today, Christopher Leon Johnson is in the field today, so he's unable to attend. Actually have Dust James though. I'm actually quite excited to work with Dust. I've seen him around for a long time, working on a lot of issues. But I'll have him introduce himself right quick. I know some of my audience is not familiar with you or your work. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you so much, brother DJL7, having me on. I'm Dust James. I'm out here in North Carolina, Marxist Leninist truck driver. Glad to talk about the issues and contribute any way I can.
Okay. So the normal format of our show is we talk about current topics, things we've been working on, things going on, and so first off, I'm going to start off with some news that people probably might know about, might not know about. Us. What's his name? Sam Bankman-Fried's on trial in New York City right now, and there's a lot of actually. Now the thing is that what made this a little bit more interesting for myself is that I was actually involved with the Yang Gang. Yeah, and within that community, a lot of them got sucked into this crypto nonsense. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna say it's all nonsense, but really, I'm not a big fan of it. Right? I'm not a crypto investor. But this lady named Carly Riley, who was pushing NFTs, she's actually trying to resurrect herself. So it's interesting to see that she's covering the trial. So I'm actually planning on going to that event soon to confront Carly Riley, like about her past with Bloomberg, and actually getting once she got involved, that's when Yang sold out the grassroots, and then he made a hard pivot towards supporting Israel. And the thing is, I'm sorry to say, that the Asian American movement right now is being co-opted, right? Yeah, by Grace Meng, which I have evidence of on my channel of, right? Yeah, she's really steering the Asian American community into becoming a funding source and a silent partner, as in terms of supporting Israeli occupation, which is really sad. So I want to talk to Carly Riley about that. She's also associated with the Bloomberg. Jules Turpek, by the way, went away after I started asking questions about this stuff, but she recently resurrected herself she did a book event with Yang. So she's still hanging out with them. I thought she had walked away. Last thing I want to add on that is recently the Ford Party's publicity director said that Yang's team was empty and had no real moral bearing. And this is Mariana Mancuso. You could look this up, but this is still not being covered by the media. So, but these people will not just escape, consequence free. So that's going to SBF trial will be the backdrop for some other things going on. Okay, so another thing coming up is the actually we were talking about earlier on this. I have actually.
I'd like to respond on the
Oh yeah, please.
the crypto issue, and I think crypto, which is largely a libertarian, capitalist, small capitalist movement, mostly white led. You've had a lot of these crypto grifters, mostly white, and a few black and brown Asian counterparts, and they walked away with millions and billions of dollars. And if you looked at who actually paid them the money, who was extorted from, you can look, it was the workers, and it especially hit black truckers pretty hard in the black belt. There was a major push by these crypto grifters into the black community because black workers face discrimination at higher levels at some of these larger monopoly companies. And a lot of them tend, because of this discrimination, they tend to be owner operators in higher rates because they're forced out of the big companies. And then I was talking with black drivers who were like, oh, look at my gains on this. They're making money, making money. And then the bottom fell out. And tons of workers, especially black workers, lost billions of dollars from these grifters. And it's disgusting and sad. And you look at El Salvador. El Salvador put it as their currency, and then it fell out. Like in the whole oppressed nation. Like I don't think we should.
I didn't even think about that. That's crazy.
I don't think oppressed people and workers should be supporting libertarian grifts
Yeah, that's
and
their national.
lies.
That's their national currency. Holy crap!
Yes.
Wow, that's dang. Okay, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So I would definitely be against it. And you look at China, the Chinese Communist Party actually outlawed
yeah.
the unregulated NFTs in China for good
I
purpose
don't
because
think
it
the
could
only
be
ones. I
used
think
by the
India also.
West.
I think
Yeah,
India also.
because it could be used by the West to create chaos in their economies. and that's exactly what it did with oppressed people and working people who gave into the grift. So I understand the appeal, but I definitely think we need to build financial and political power within our communities with control over it, not unregulated libertarian pipe dreams and schemes and grifts.
Fiat currency is an open con. It's just ridiculous, like how far things have gone. And it's just like absolutely insane. Another thing that I was talking about, I was actually. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anything else that you want to talk about the topic, or
No, that's it on there. You go on.
I also like to add that I'm also on. I think crypto has. I don't believe in the blockchain. The fact of the matter is, it could be hacked. There's other problems, right? Yeah. So I have a lot of other issues with crypto just in general. Yeah, but as a fun toy, I'm not mad at it as a fun toy. You know what I mean? But to really put your whole entire valuation on it, I don't agree with that. But
I mean, if a blockchain is good technology, it would just have to be regulated by a power based in the oppressed and working class community, which it wasn't and hasn't been.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it could be. It's like a tool, right? Yeah. So a tool, a toy, right? Yeah, it depends on how you really, you can really work it any way you want, for good or for bad. Okay, let's take a look at we were talking earlier. I'm part of a chat with Dust James, and I do value that chat. Shout out to the people in the chat. Now the thing was, we were talking about the Answer Coalition. They're doing some kind of a Palestine rally today, I believe. Correct?
No, I think there's the annual Black is Back Coalition has an annual rally in DC, and the organization that the leader, the chairman of that, the lead person involved with the Black with Black, Chairman O'Malley of the African Socialists, put out a statement condemning PSL organizing a rally at the same day, near the same place. And I think it's some sectarianism on PSL's part. I mean, I'm not going to fully condemn it as the African Socialists are, but I think it does show some contradictions and some sectarian amongst the left generally.
I have my own criticisms of PSL, um, and unfortunately, there seems to be a fight for resources that goes on amongst the leadership, and really, I just advise the members to just do whatever you want and to not pay attention to the leadership. They have their own thing going, and in the end, it's about you. It's not about them. You know what I mean? So don't, if you want to feel support right now, the thing is that here's one thing that I have to say though, and this is actually, while I do support the Palestinians, right? The thing is that at the Black Solidarity Day event, I bet you there's going to be people wearing Palestine. Maybe I'm wrong, but I bet you there's people there probably wearing pro-Palestinian gear, things like that, right? But what about
the statement put out by the chairwoman of the African Socialists said this was trying to create
division?
A rift that doesn't exist, and they're fully in support of Palestinians. There is no rift between Black oppression or the leaders of Black liberation and Palestinian movement. This is just entirely either a bad choice or timing on behalf of PSL that could be taken out of sectarianism.
Well, it's a big marketing opportunity for them. You know what I mean? So really, they can't like run away from the feast. You know what I mean? They got to run in and eat what they can. You know what I mean? So
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's a fundraising. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing. So, but
we have a weak, disconnected left in the United States that is just beginning to come out of its sleep as conditions quickly deteriorate, and we're seeing all kinds of factionalism and problems. There was a fight between the grifter-led so-called Rage Against the War Machine and Answer. And then Answer actually hosted the Black Radicals at their demo, and now we're seeing further splits between PSL and leaders within the Black Radical community. We're seeing further splits.
I think it's controlled opposition, to tell you the truth.
I would say that I would definitely say that the more racist elements like Brana and Maupin and others definitely don't benefit our struggle overall. But I wouldn't go as far to call PSL, even though they have opportunistic tendencies, sectarian tendencies. I think they're still an ally overall, and I wouldn't designate
Overall,
them
I
as
say that
control.
I would agree, but
Yeah.
I would implicate, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna like just straight up implicate the board. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of millionaires up
Yeah.
there. You know what I mean? Get what they want. They don't answer to anybody. They're not accountable, right? Yeah. Other than that, right? Yeah, I got love for everybody in the group. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
the leadership, right? They can't hold leadership accountable in their own group. You know it's true too. Yeah. Wake up, smell the coffee. You know what I mean?
Oh
Just
yeah. I
I'm
mean,
mad.
there's
Yeah.
so little infrastructure available, and the anti-imperialist pro-worker movements in the United States. Um,
Yeah, it's
you either
anti-work.
need to build your own, or tentatively work with the existing infrastructure it exists, which is littered with the same problems of classism and racism that exist in our society broadly.
Yeah. And there's just it's so sad to think about Nick Brown again, because the fact of the matter is that there were so many people on the ground. He had celebrities, he had so much money support. There was a lot of people underneath that really built up the things that he said he was about, because he really couldn't stop the ground force. But the fact of the matter is that these people are just not strong enough to keep. They're in this thing called UPA. They all went home. They packed their bags and went home. Why? You know, I mean, we had an interest. We had 14 states all that. I think about 5, 6 of them had started to file the paperwork, ready to start their own state parties. You know what I mean? Why did they stop? Because of you know, they just weren't committed. That's sad. They gave up. I like you, man. You stayed in it, right? Yeah, you faced your own adversity, but you stayed in. So you're a warrior, man. You're gonna keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny coming from, myself is a poor white person in a rural area who was partly raised by oppressed people, the most exploited, undocumented immigrants from Mexico, one of the most exploited people, and then going into university and places that were supposed to represent the working class, and just seeing a complete class and cultural disconnect in those spaces. And I've seen it's changing though. If you look at the advent of Black Lives Matter and how many proletarian Black people are getting into the movement, if we look at the growth in the Palestinian struggle, if we look at the even if we look at, I believe to be a con artist, Bernie Sanders, but if we look at the people who followed him, poor white Black people and others together, who started to see socialism as something positive, see that there's something, maybe we should go outside. A lot of Sanders and supporters actually broke from the duopoly, either are green now or have given up on bourgeois politics altogether to gotten into more revolutionary struggles. I think there's definitely more working class and oppressed people getting involved in politics, but where are they supposed to go when all the infrastructure is led by middle class and wealthy boomers who have their little cults and their little prestige and their money and their opportunities, and have been having the same fights for decades? Where's the space for this new energy? Where are they supposed to go? We can take those organizations, push it in our way, or we can make our own organizations and force them to fall under our leadership. But we got to build. I mean, you can't just sit here and attack everybody. You have to build something better, to be able to improve upon it.
I got exciting a team that I'm working with right now. So
Mm.
I really look forward to working with yourself. I know the term communist is controversial, but honestly, I don't really have a problem with it. You know what I mean? As long as you work in a way that's honest, and you have integrity, and you do what you say you're going to do, then could be a reliable partner. You know what I mean? So I'm down with it. You know what I mean? So, I he's not telling me what. I know people are concerned about communism being authoritarian, And we'll find out as time goes on. Yeah, but so far everything's been cool with me. Okay. Another thing that we was going to talk about, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, the Answer Coalition versus this particular Black Socialist thing. Anything else you want to comment about that particular Answer Coalition? Honestly, yeah, I'm troubled by most by Cold Pink and Medea Benjamin, to tell you the truth. Yeah. And I feel like Answer Coalition keeps the Koreans and the Palestinians separated and keeps these movements kind of siloed off. They have their own priorities. I'm not saying they're wrong to do that or it's possible for them to be otherwise, but the fact of the matter is that you cannot trust them. They haven't really prioritized Korea, and they're not really working Korea and Palestine together. And I want to know why. It's been a long time. Yeah, I'm suspicious. If right, yeah, they can start working on it right now. They started. We're gonna see. Yeah, the new Notre Dame guys. Well, he's actually been around. He started to mention that, so I hope that it starts to take off. Yeah, like okay. So I do want to ask about that, right? The fact of the matter is that with Palestine kicking off, I think that also part of the reason why they made the move was they saw the U.S. spending so much money in the Ukraine, and they're like, "Yo, U.S. is weak right now." Now I think China and I think North Korea is going to be like, "Yo, like it's our time." You know what I mean? Your U.S. is so distracted with all this other bullshit. Yo, it's our fuck it, let's go. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
the most organized group, Hamas, part of a larger coalition of socialist anarchists, all kinds of people, in this very broad national liberation struggle and horrible, desperate conditions. And it's interesting. I saw reports. Part of the reason for their success is because the US has so little hold on the billions and billions of dollars and weapons going to Ukraine. Some of them actually made it to the Palestinian people, because the US and the arms industry doesn't care where these weapons go as long as they're being produced. Honestly, I think it's a strategy of US imperialism and the military industrial complex generally to have weapons get out into the world generally, so then they can justify putting more investment and better weapons and selling those for even a higher price. The imperialists are so dumb and big and stupid, and they're only concerned with profits, and they don't really care who they kill or what conflicts are escalated. But I think maybe a silver lining or of that, maybe the Palestinians were able to get these weapons and make this offensive and break through the prison camp and have a victory. But I mean, it was immediately met by mass genocide, just turning entire portions of an already horrible situation into rubble, pushing huge portions of already people in horrible conditions and smaller, worse conditions. I mean, it's so obvious. I think you
It's
said
still
earlier
happening
that,
right now, right? It's still happening.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
still
it's still happening. I think it's you mentioned how some people, maybe some technocrat or more middle class Palestinian immigrants who will come out for Palestinian cause because it's so obvious, and this is their family, this is their national homeland, and it's so obvious the absolute genocide and destruction that's happening to them, that maybe they can't see some of the interconnections of, more working class struggles or oppressed nations
well, you
within
know,
the United
also I
States.
have to say, there's not that many like middle class, like actually, you know what, to think about it, maybe I'm gonna walk that back for a second because like Linda Sarsour, for example, right? Yeah, she's a supporter and she also seems to be involved with other things, right? But really, I think one of the reasons why this is because I was living in the Palestinian community down in Bay Ridge, right? Yeah, a lot of them are poor. They're coming out of a
Mm.
freaking like refugee camp. They're not gonna really have the resources or like they grew up in a violent, like, surrounding. It's not good. I mean, these people do not come out like, middle class. You know what I mean? So the
I
thing is,
got you. I got you.
right? Yeah. So they struggle in that way too. But in that violence and chaos, right? Yeah. I'm not sure I'm. Yeah. They did they really learn to work with others, or I think they would benefit from that. And I'm saying, right, once again, to the Koreans, I would say the Answer Coalition, right? Yeah. You see that it's really there's a strange tie at the top, right? Yeah, with I'm not anti-Jewish at all, right? Yeah. But I do think that the Answer Coalition is led by, um, you know, a lot of if you look up Palestinian aid groups, a lot of them are owned and operating right out of Israel, straight up.
That's interesting. I'm seeing some more militant. Well, first of all, I wanted to just backpedal and say I wasn't trying to attack the Palestinian community at all. I was just going over general contradictions between bourgeois nationalism and the larger
Yeah.
international proletariat, and there is contradictions. But I think that the main emphasis is you try to unite all forces possible, either bourgeois, nationalist, or proletarian, together, and build as much strength as possible against the common enemy of the imperialists. And I have noticed that Jewish voices, even progressive Jewish voices, even ones that support Palestinian resistance, tend to be the louder voices within the pro-Palestinian movement than Palestinians themselves. And I'm
Real
seeing a
stuff,
lack
man.
of
Real stuff. What's
militant.
up?
Yeah,
And
I'm seeing a lack of militant self-determination. Like, you see these constant words, Israel-Palestine conflict.
and
Like, I think that's a horrible formation. Palestine
exactly
is
right.
an
They have
occupied country. Israel is a criminal organization. Why are you recognizing Israel?
and they
Like,
have they
even,
have this
yeah,
one
go ahead.
small, very small crew of like black people that speak on their behalf. But then, like, you look at the African socialists or Koreans and stuff like that, and we're not really right. Yeah, in there like that for some reason. Yeah, again and again, in many in the housing sector, right, and the activism in that world, and in a lot of worlds, it's like this. Yeah, so
I
that's
think
a
so, and
great
it's not primarily identity political driven. It's not colorists.
I
If
think
you
it's like
look
that.
at
What hope for
if you
now?
look at there'll
Jewish.
be black and brown faces with a with a wish-washy,
Yeah,
watered down position within these larger organizations. And if you look at
damn.
oppressed voices with more militant positions, including white people with more militant positions that are in solidarity
Mhm.
with oppressed groups, are kept out of the conversation. The
Um,
militant voice generally is kept out of the conversation.
that's why we're having our own conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the program, man. I'm so grateful. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so uh, bef- are you ready to head on to the DSA? Let's talk about DSA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so DSA is having quite a few events out here, and I do think the press is covering their pro-Palestine and also not so pro-Palestine moves, right? Yeah. Now the thing is that just so people know, which they may not know, DSA recently had their national convention, and at this national convention, several moves were made that caused, you could look this up, right? Yeah, a record number of people to leave the DSA, like as never before. Let's go down about what went down. First of all, right? Yeah, the national committee decided that elected officials, right, would not be disciplined or would not be nothing would be said negative about affiliated politicians who supported more military spending, more military aid for Israel, or more military guns and weapons and stuff like that, right? Now, they consider that a betrayal. Then there was a working group called like the Palestinian Working Group, and then they were de-recognized or somehow kicked out. And then this caused a mass drop of people out of DSA. And I don't think people really know about this. Anyways, so I think that maybe they're going extra hard to like try to win some of the membership back. I don't because that's a lot of dollars that walk right out the door. What do you think about that?
I mean, the DSA is pursuing a strategy that I think is somewhat ineffective. I think if you look at electoral politics generally, there can be some space with local elections and insurgent candidates where national money isn't at play to a degree. But if you look at the more state level candidates, national level candidates, it's such a controlled environment. We might be able to get people in there, but we're such a small coalition and we're such a small power. The people, once they get there, they're gonna do whatever they want. And when it comes to the flashpoint of Palestine, which is a genocide, which is a major foothold for U.S. imperialism in the oppressed Arab region, they're not going to be effective at speaking on those issues. And you got to recognize, you know, you got to recognize that this is an effective strategy, and this is what's coming out of it. If you look at the majority of DSA membership, which has expanded in recent years with Sanders and others, and it has becoming working class. I think still like 50% of memberships have like PhDs. Like it's not a proletarian organization. It has some links to CIA groups, going back to its formation in the 70s. I wouldn't mind. Like I don't mind anyone joining the DSA. I might, if there was a local chapter of the DSA that was doing good work in my community, I wouldn't mind joining them and working with them. But at the same time, as a communist who represents my class and supports Palestine and oppressed communities, you got to understand there's a disconnect between, the what utility you get out of the organization and the leadership of that organization generally. And that came out. They were unable to discipline their candidates, who their elected politicians they supposedly support, that went along with the genocide and funded the Israeli occupation. And
It
it's
makes you
just,
what are
yeah,
their
go ahead.
it makes you question what are their priorities. What do you think their priorities are?
Yeah, I agree with you.
What do you think their priorities are?
Yeah, like these are not the I think we should be focusing on building power within our communities and building up voices within oppressed communities,
Okay.
to a bigger extent, rather than putting all our resources and money into imperialist politicians and bourgeois political campaigns that have historically not won us any victories. I mean, sure, AOC, who will say some stuff here and there that sounds good for our class, but I mean, she's out here meeting with the coup makers in Bolivia that were mass murdering indigenous people, supporting Israel that's mass murdering Palestinians and continuing genocide. I mean, these she's not a representative of us or our class, and they never will be. You are. I think people need to have more faith in themselves and less faith in the bourgeois political process.
Hell yeah. But I do also feel like we can take if you really a revolution is really coming from Korea and all the generational violence from all of that. I really just do not really advise like violent revolution, like really just don't. So could what I mean? I guess right, yeah, but um, you know, you want to try right, yeah, like electoral things do affect things. Now, do you live in a one-party state or a two-party state?
I'm for a one-party state of Palestine.
No, I mean
Um,
like in your neighborhood, like where you're.
oh, oh, I mean, it doesn't matter. The distinction, if you have various factions within a party,
Well,
what's the difference between that and multiple parties?
that's a decent point.
Not much. I mean, the big thing is power. Which class, regardless of the distinction of electoral nuances, the real issue is power.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Is their representatives, are they fulfilling the needs of the class and the people? Look at the material objectives and accomplishments of the government. I mean, and if I know, and if you look at, even China, as slow as it is problems with capitalism, they say they're going to raise people out of poverty. They've been raising people out of poverty. If you look at the United States, we have more representatives of oppressed people in office than ever before, still need more, but the conditions are deteriorating in the United States.
You know,
Things are getting far worse for oppressed people in the United States.
there's a local office you can run for called county committee. And the
Hmm.
thing is that, right, county committee decides the Democrat Party leadership, and right here, Democrats kind of run everything. Not only that, but they also get to determine who the judges are. And the thing is that if you can like have like some influence on who the judges are, that's you can really define how laws are like interpreted, and you know that's really what really happens. It's
I
the
think actually the DSA and some of the Communist Party, even the Communist Party, and in places like Chicago and places like Seattle, there has been victories by working class and oppressed communities in insurgent campaigns on the local level, from county commissioners raising the minimum wage and a number of issues. I think that is an effective strategy.
yeah, cool, man. I hope that you know we also collect the voter database, so that's a pretty cool project. Um, Anything else going on within the you know politically nowadays that oh you know I don't think it's that long ago, but now what was it RFK? You know he actually declared independent.
Yeah, I heard about that. I mean, I think he's a really weak candidate that appeals to a lot of American chauvinism. Like if
What,
you look at who was supporting him, it was a lot of the libertarians and stuff and boomers that hold on to the Kennedy name. And
why do
if
you
you
think
and if
Dennis Kucinich left the campaign?
what'd you say?
You know Dennis Kucinich left the campaign, right?
Yeah, yeah. And Dennis Kucinich was one of the only people who spoke out for universal health care back in Obama years
So why do you think he
from the
left?
left.
Why do you think
Because I think there's issues with racism and American chauvinism within the RFK, within the people that were supporting that. I mean, look at who's supporting it. The Convo Couch, People's Party. Like, look at who's supporting it. It's a lot of these same forces that have issues with economic libertarianism,
so think you
which
think that
favors mostly white middle class business, and then and yeah, and there's a lot of
Kucinich is
racism within the
actually,
Libertarian Party.
just so you know, Dennis Kucinich is doing a. Oh, so you think the RFK was discussed with Dennis Kucinich or vice versa?
Um, no, I think he realized he wasn't going to win within the Democratic Party, so he went outside of it, which is good, and he was already starting to do. I think that's a positive move if he wants
You
to
know
get
what? Like
outside the Democratic
the
Party.
thing is that the Republicans, who they really were, you know, I have a video where I went to their event, and there were some Democrats there. A lot of Republicans like them too. You know what I mean? Or people that you know, a lot of people who were Democrats switched to Republicans too. By the way, right? Yeah, they happened.
Yeah, yeah, they go back and forth.
Yeah. So what happened was that what was it? Now that because it's going to take more away from Trump's votes, right? Yeah, he's getting negative press from like that particular squad, and the RFK is kind of hurting. So maybe that could hurt Dennis in the future, right? By being associated with that, because they might be beating up on
Sorry.
RFK real soon. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I was never a huge fan of RFK to begin with. I think he was saying some stuff from an anti-imperialist perspective, or at least an anti-interventionist, anti-war perspective, that none of the other candidates were able to say.
yeah,
But as far as a candidate that we can organize working class and oppressed people around, he was a shit candidate to begin with.
you know. Also, like I don't. What state are you from again?
North Carolina.
Okay, you know, like I don't know about if. Well, you probably got exposed because it was in the media. I don't know, but New York, right? Yeah, you know Cuomo. So the fact of you know Mario Cuomo was like you know followed up by you know what's his name? You know the governor who had to resign,
Yeah,
Cuomo.
yeah.
Yeah, so like the whole Camelot thing, like here in New York, I think was like tainted, but maybe North Carolina not the same. But did that like you knew about the so you knew about the Cuomo thing? Do you feel like they kind of you know the name brand thing? Like you had George Bush Senior, and then you were George Bush Junior, who was like filled with gaffes and shit. Like I don't think the Camelot thing appeals as much anymore.
I don't think it's yeah, I'm not big on that strategy.
Yeah,
Supporting these old names with weak charisma and voices. I think we need more people centered in our own working class and oppressed communities rather than trying to find people within the ruling class itself leaving. I think they can be allies, but we shouldn't line up behind them because they still have. I mean, he's a Kennedy. That's an oligarch family. I'm not. You know what I'm trying to say?
He has a unique opportunity to bring light to certain
Yeah.
issues that aren't being talked about, and I would appreciate, and I think that's how he could distinguish himself right now. So, the whole Israel thing is, people are asking questions. It's not good with that particular crowd or community. I don't think that they, people that he's appealing to, right? Yeah, aren't generally gonna like that. So he's in a tough spot there, RFK. Maybe that's why Dennis left, right? Yeah. Interesting. All right. I think that also shows the fact that Cornel West also had to leave the Green Party, which I'm also involved with those people.
I thought that was unfortunate.
Really,
I was hoping that Cornel West would be a bolster to building that infrastructure, that big tent infrastructure. We have a lot of black radicals and working class people within the Green Party, and it's one of the few organizations on a broad scale where we were able to speak and have our voices heard to an extent. And Cornel West, as an individual, not to use his whatever cultural capital or celebrity has, or whatever to not use that to endorse it because things got tough or whatever, and putting himself above the broader movement and infrastructure building. I thought it was very disappointing.
I gotta share with you my perspective on this right now.
Okay? Go ahead.
The fact of the matter is that you believe in the people, right?
Yeah.
So once again, right, the People's Party, remember Cornel West spoke at the first convention, which I was a deep part of setting up, right? The Yang Gang and the MPP together. I don't know if you've seen it. Okay. They didn't speak to ground organizers. They had Graham Elwood and Ron Pacone there. Ron Pacone is still not spoken out about this stuff. They're still trying to give this guy a pass. Fuck Ron Pacone. Okay. But okay, let's go on to the fact of the matter is that this whole, era, right, is just filled with corruption and bullshit. I just want to say, man. Yeah, it's just disgusting.
Still, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I think I don't think there's more corruption and bullshit. I think we haven't had shit to begin with in a long time, and now we're starting to build some shit. The existing corruption and bullshit's coming. What'd you say?
Did you pulling out?
No, I was saying I don't think that the corruption is getting worse. I think the existing corruption is getting out now that we already have. Now that we're beginning to have something, we're beginning to build things.
Let me go back to trash and Cornel West because I want to make sure that definitely goes down. So check it out, right? The People's Party for 3 years, okay? 3 separate attempts were made in New York State alone to try to start the third-party paperwork process, which were all shot in the foot, right? Yeah. Now, over those years, people like Jerry Perez, people like myself, people like Jonathan Martin, one of the only professors of both parties in the nation, right? All worked in succession. So 7 separate generations. Jim Engel, I can name all the leaders, right? Yeah. From beginning to end, they all, right? Yeah, tried to fight to start this third party, which, right? Yeah, which you knew the dream, right? Yeah. They had so much talent. They had so many people coming to volunteer, right? Yeah, and they just milked them one after the next, after the next, after the next. Now Cornel West was told about this. How could he not? He was associated with all of that. You get what I mean? So he, right? He was at the first convention.
I think the big problem with the People's Party was Nick Brana, and Nick Brana used
Cornel West turned his head.
Interest in
the other way because Cornel West didn't care about the allegations. He didn't care about.
He did leave. He did eventually leave.
Yeah, not because of us though. Well, because we were stopped from doing what we were trying to do. That's why he had no paperwork ready to go. 14 states declared separation, and we told Cornel about this, but he did nothing. He doesn't give a shit.
That's unfortunate.
He's sold out, man. He doesn't care. Imagine, right? Yeah, you're Cornel West. I'm like, hey, what's up?
What else would you? What else? Yeah? What else are you gonna expect? What else are you gonna expect from an academic? I mean, he has been on our side. He's nationally known. Like what good do I get, being in the Black Belt South, attacking somebody who's perceived as positive for,
I do want to ask you about
black
that. As a
liberation?
communist, right? What do you think is the relationship? Because often academia, especially the higher academia and stuff, right? Yeah, is very closely tied with the establishment and then class warfare.
Yeah, I think it has a negative effect. When you have all these academics supposedly leading revolutionary struggle, instead of having it based in the working class and the class it's supposed to represent, there's going to be major contradictions and problems with that.
So I think, like, personally, I feel like the Cultural Revolution maybe went a little too far as in terms of like cutting from academics, or maybe not, right? Yeah. But what do you think is like the right balance?
Yeah.
What do you think is the right balance, right? Yeah, to have like the academics stay under control, right? But not get too high. You know what I mean? Or get too low.
I think the stronger the working class base, the more power we have to keep the academics alive.
But the working class idolize the academics because they don't have the time to do the work themselves. They make it
instead of following behind the academics. And we can see the radical intellectuals and academics as an ally, but if we have them from their class position attempt to lead our movements, it's not going to go well. We need to build our own, build our own power bases and use them as an ally and a tool for us.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I don't even like hate Neil deGrasse Tyson, but because people want him to be more than he is, because they want to live vicariously through him, right? Yeah. They'll take like stuff that he says about stuff that's not in his field of expertise and blow it out to be something else. You know what I mean? And it's not even Neil deGrasse Tyson's fault. It's not even his fault. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a dude saying stuff, but people turn into something else.
This bourgeois, capitalist society, racist society is like constantly convinced working people that they're nothing and they're powerless and everyone else has to do something for them. They have no faith in themselves. And they're willing to put all their political energy and ideas into these celebrity figures, to the point where if you criticize these figures, they act like you're attacking them. So, I mean, we gotta break past that and get people to have faith in themselves.
Yeah, Dust. I don't want to. I bet you're already thinking about this as well. I can see you're that guy who does a lot of thinking, right? So the thing is that about like AI and stuff like that, right? And the thing is that before they were going to supposedly automate the trucks, that didn't work out. You know what I mean? But how do you feel about like?
The problem with the automated trucks is the U.S. isn't capable of putting infrastructure. There's such a disorganized labor movement that labor is relatively not willing to invest in infrastructure.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, you have a place with spotty reception, and then you're gonna have a real problem. You're breaking up.
Yeah, go ahead.
If we take a look at like the truck drivers, not the truck, I mean the train operators, I don't think they got taken care of yet. Correct?
No.
So, like
Democrats and Republicans alike threw their union on the bus, and they don't even have sick days. And then there was a major chemical spill in Ohio just like weeks after that strike was suppressed.
But they're responsible for a lot of how our system works, right? Like kind of like the guts of transportation and stuff.
You look at the tracks themselves were in disrepair. The tracks themselves were in disrepair.
So if we look at it,
can't even maintain its own infrastructure.
So as a transportation, right? Yeah. What about trucks? Because you're in that field. Are they experiencing, like, I heard that Amazon's also hurting the industry a lot, or maybe not. I don't know.
The capitalist economy has so many inefficiencies. For operators as well as a lot of the money that goes to the infrastructure industry doesn't go to workers. It's sucked out to these huge insurance companies, auto manufacturers, and banks before your truck even gets on the road. There's all this money being sucked out of the industry to these monopolies. American capitalism is so inefficient.
Hey, man. Yeah. All right, man. All right. So, anything else going on? Particularly, I'm trying to think of things. I know at least recently, I think city council races are coming up. That's going to be in November. So there's a lot of events going off. The migrant stuff is still an issue down here. That's still popping off.
Can you tell
I
me
don't really
more
have much
about
to
that?
say
Can
with that. Huh?
you tell me more about that?
Um, well, the migrant situation, they're okay. So, oh, I do know some deep stuff. Okay, check it out. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that New York City, is actually what they want to do is they want to actually send these migrants to other parts of the state. So what they're doing is they're building along the transportation corridors. They're actually mandating Governor Hochul is trying to create new communities for the migrants to move in. Right? Yeah. So they can use the transportation hubs to travel back and forth to the city. So the thing is that, okay, let's take a look at you've heard of something called Section 8 or affordable housing, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is actually a new form of apartheid, which is insane, right? Okay. Check it out. The thing is that the people who are living in the city, their apartments are going to get gentrified. So they want these people to move out. So they can replace the local people. You get it?
Yeah.
So what happens is where these people are going to go? They're going to move, right? Like Newburgh, which is actually 2 hours north of the city, right? Yeah. Safely away from, the genteel folk. And who lives up there, right? Yeah. The poor, the migrants, stuff like that, right? They have a large Mexican community.
So the migrants these are mostly Latin American immigrants or migrants?
No, straight Mexican, yeah. Like you could look it up. Yeah, Newburgh is mostly Mexican and black, yeah.
I know
Now the
there's
thing
been
is
a
that
decrease recently. Well, there's been a decrease recently in Mexican immigration because of improved conditions in Mexico under the AMLO regime.
yeah.
Um, and there's been a trend towards more um, Central America immigrants from the region, but including Haiti and the Caribbean, which
All
has been
right.
having a lot of issues.
So
But that's
the thing is
interesting.
that
So what exactly are they doing? So they're trying to take
so
the migrants out of the city
okay.
in gentrified areas
The thing is
and
that
put them up in
remember a lot of
upstate ghettos, or
so that okay, here's the deal though, right? Yeah. Remember the number
yeah.
one collecting influence on government is real estate, right? At the local level.
Hmm.
So the thing is that these homes, remember, they built a lot of these homes with federal money, affordable housing. Now they have to fill those apartments one way or the other. So now they play the reshuffle game, right? Yeah, and they send the migrants towards right, yeah, and the poor community into like these, and they also send people who just got out of jail into these communities. You get what I mean? I'm not saying that people, I don't
Yeah, I
have,
mean those are, if you look
yeah,
at people who have been criminalized and the
and
undocumented
yeah,
are some
not
of
only
the
that,
most exploited workers in our country,
but
from jail labor to subpar wages with undocumented workers.
yep. And then these areas, right, yeah, are slated for environmental, right, dumps. They're also slated for withdrawal of resources. It's a new redlining, and it's a new form of apartheid, to tell you the truth. You know what I mean? Under
Yeah.
the guise of something called affordable housing. So it's very deadly, and it needs to really, so that's where the migrants are going to go and see the something laid out right now. And you guys need to really wake up. They actually have she's creating the funding for new multi-unit, like that means multiple people living in one room. That's, you can look it up. Yeah, they call it uh by the transportation hubs. They're trying to build the dense urban housing, something like that. Yeah, that was crazy. Anyways, it looks like we lost connection with Dust James. We're having some intermittent connections there. North Carolina. That's a very important state right there. Yes. That's a good place to have a political connection. Anyways, I think that's pretty much a good show right there. So I'm just going to call it. Yeah. Okay, Thursday, we're going to do our show at 10 o'clock again. I think that Christopher Leon Johnson, just so you know, I like to support Christopher Leon. I think that they're trying to come at his community board membership. I know he hasn't really been attending, but he has actually been, around a lot of issues of importance. Yeah. So he hasn't been slacking in his other duties, and he's got relevant information. So I think he would be a good person for the community board. And yeah, he's going to start going to meetings. Yeah, he has a lot of background knowledge about what's going on behind the scenes. I find him very valuable, and I do a show with him every Tuesday and Thursday. So, welcome to the very first show of the new. Well, my camera's really off here. Whatever. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode. We're going to try to dress this up with some graphics. I got to learn how to do all this. Yeah. Enjoy, folks. God bless. Oh, wait, stay. It's a stream.